Alright guys, Fuller coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. If you like this video, please feel free to like the video. And if you want to, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. You don't have to, but you know, it's always by choice, never by force. So I really want to first and foremost wish all my Muslim brothers and sisters who are tuned into this channel, I want to say, Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah accept our fast. May Allah accept all of our worship and our good deeds. And may Allah make this bring out the best of us under the circumstances we're under. Because right now, as it stands, we're in the circumstances where we cannot, meet in congregation, where we cannot pray in congregation. And so we pretty much it's really on us how we take this and how we do this. It's pretty much right now not a congregational effort. And so with that being said, I pray that we get the best out of this fasting, you know what I mean? And that we come out of it even more determined to get things done, you know what I mean? But what I wanted to do was talk about some boxing a little bit. I was just gonna wait to really digest the whole comments that Paulie Malignaggi made about, I didn't get the memo. Devin Haney didn't get the memo, but the days of the black fighters' dominance are over, and that Eastern Europeans are now the dominant fighters. And I just kind of want to dissect that, because he not only went as far as to say that they're the dominant fighters, he went as far as to say that they're the dominant species in boxing. Now, my question to him is, first and foremost, why would you use the word species? Why couldn't you just keep it at that they're dominant fighters? Why use the word species? I mean, what was it that important for you to get your point across that you had to use those words instead of just limiting it to just fighters instead? You know what I mean? And so that's the first thing. The second thing I kind of want to talk about in regards to Devin Haney, he said that he doesn't think he was talking about Vasily Lomachenko, you know what I mean? But as a matter of fact, he was talking about Vasily Lomachenko, because on the interview with 78 Sports TV, that's where the comment came from. The comment came from someone in the chat who said, we cannot wait for you to, destroy this hype job, being Vasily Lomachenko. They mentioned Vasily Lomachenko by name. And that's when the comment came from that. So he was talking about Vasily Lomachenko. Now, to take it a step further, he said that he doesn't even know if Devin Haney is ready for Luke Campbell. That's what he said. He said Luke Campbell has fought everybody. Luke Campbell's best name on his resume is Vasily Lomachenko. However, Luke Campbell lost. And Luke Campbell lost to a relatively unknown fighter from France. Okay? He was clearly outclassed by this fighter. Dropped by this fighter. His name is Ves Mindy. And I can tell you something right now. Devin Haney is way more capable, is way more skilled, and I think has more power than Ves Mindy. So for him to say that he's not ready for Luke Campbell, when a guy who was a lesser opponent than Devin Haney was ready for Luke Campbell, what's really going on, Paulie? Like, what are you really trying to assume or insinuate? Okay? So now, he says that Eastern European fighters are the dominant fighters in boxing right now. And then he gave a kind of like a timeline where he said there was a point where there were Irish fighters who were dominant, where there were Jewish fighters who were dominant, where there were Italian fighters who were dominant. And, you know, I totally disagree with that, because my perspective is this. There's always going to be a balance in terms of dominance in boxing. However, you will find that most of this balance is kind of leaning towards the black fighter, due to the simple fact the black fighter is coming from, there's more black fighters. You have to do it as a numbers game. If you have more of a number, then of course they're going to be dominant. You got to look at the NBA. Black players are dominant because there's more of them. You got to look at football. Black players are more dominant because there's more of them. Okay? When you look at boxing, there's more black fighters than there is anybody else. And the reason that is because most of these guys come from sensitive circumstances. You have to understand something. People, or even, look, before I even start with this, look at the French soccer team. Look at the Brazil soccer team. Look at what the Portuguese soccer team is becoming. I'm talking about the national team. You have to understand, look at them. Most of them are black. And the reason that is because they come from sensitive backgrounds where this is their only opportunity. So they grab this opportunity and they run with the opportunity full-fledged. Okay? It's the same thing with boxing. When you look at all these boxers, okay, all these black boxers, one of the most common feature with these black boxers is that they all come from sensitive backgrounds where there wasn't much else. So of course they're going to put all their energy into boxing because they look at that as a way out. Okay? Whereas on the opposite side of things, I'm just saying, sure, there are other minorities of fighters, especially in the Hispanic category, who come from sensitive backgrounds, right? We understand that. But you're rarely going to find, and this is just what it is, you're rarely going to find a boxer of European descent who comes from a well-to-do background who's just going to say, hey, I want to box. You're not going to find that. In fact, their parents are going to steer them away from that because, let's face it, boxing is a life or death sport. People have lost their lives in boxing. Okay? So, everybody has an equal, well, I don't want to say everybody has an equal shot at it, but boxing comes down to a number of things, right? But I think, in my personal opinion, black fighters have that number of things more. Okay? You gotta look at just physical aspects, like fast twitch muscles. And, you know, you have to understand those fast twitch muscles were ingrained upon them because of the history of the country. Let's be honest. America was built on slavery. You have, let's just put it this way: the Americas, including Caribbean, Latin America, were built on slavery. Those slaves had to develop certain things if they wanted a fair share at escaping. And one of those things was fast twitch muscles. We got to be honest. Why did people of European descent take slaves from certain areas of Africa? Because of their physical makeup, because they were built to withstand the conditions that they will be put in. Those physical things carry on, and those physical things make them successful at sports, right? So when we look at the current champions right now in boxing of Eastern European descent, we can say that Vasily Lomachenko dominates the lightweight division. He has most of the belts. We can say that Arthur Beterbiev dominates light heavyweight. And we can say Dmitry Bivol dominates light heavyweight. But if you want to go to like welterweight, if you want to go to the middleweight division, if you want to go to the super welterweight division, who do you mostly see dominating in those divisions? Heck, if you want to even go to the bantamweight division, who do you see dominating? Okay? Super middleweight, who do you see dominating? Right? So, with that being said, even when you look at the past, I want to take one era where the middleweight, where there were 5 fighters who were battling for middleweight supremacy. You have Roberto Duran, you have Wilfred Benitez, you have Sugar Ray Leonard, you have Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and you had Tommy Hearns, right? Which one of those fighters were white at that time? I'm just saying. Okay? Now, I'm going to end this video with this. Okay? Paulie Malignaggi is a company man, so I don't expect much more from him but to say this, because he's a company man. I think he works for the Zone. So I expect him to be talking like this, right? Because let's be honest, the only one who's had really a fair share on the Zone is Daniel Jacobs. I mean, he got a Canelo fight, right? But other than that, black fighters haven't been faring too well on the Zone, including Devin Haney. And Devin Haney is one of my favorite fighters, because I think he's just looking to be in a position where he wants to prove that he's that guy. And of course, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade is one of my favorite fighters on the Zone. And I think he wants to do the same thing. But they haven't been placed in the positions to do so. So, with this being said, okay, all I'm going to say is you should expect nothing less from a company man, because we know who runs these companies, right? I also want to say, don't be surprised if you have people of African descent outcrying and criticizing the comments that Devin Haney made, okay? But man, that's all I got for this whole topic, man. I wasn't even going to talk about it, but I just want to give my 2 cents with it, man. I just had to give my 2 cents, man. It is what it is. He said what he said. And they were gonna love and hate him regardless, man. The exact same way, even if he said it or even if he did it. But that's all I got for now, guys. Full signing out. Unjarama.